You are listening to Beyond the Wheel, a podcast about the people and ideas that drive the RV community forward.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Beyond the Wheel. Today's guest is Brooke Baum, editor of WinnebagoLife, the #1 lifestyle blog for RV'ers. WinnebagoLife features articles on RV tips, tricks, and so much more. So without any further delay, let's talk to Brooke and find out just how much more WinnebagoLife has to offer.
Brooke, can you, to get started, can you just tell us a little bit about your background and how you got started with WinnebagoLife?
Sure. Yeah, I actually RV'd for a year last year in a Winnebago. And before we even got in the RV, my husband and I went to the RV Entrepreneur Summit. And I ended up meeting the current editor at the time, Don Cohen, who actually started up GoLife with the Winnebago marketing team a few years back. And I ended up just contributing initially, which was awesome because I was learning so much as a new RVer, and I was excited to share that with everyone. And I've always been in writing, and I had an editorial job before we hit the road. So yeah, I was excited to get involved that way. And then he ended up needing an assistant as the blog was growing. So I was able to hop on and become the assistant editor within the first couple months of me contributing. And then just as life goes and things change, he ended up going into wanting to do some other projects, and they needed an editor to take his place, and I was their first choice after being his assistant for almost a year. So it was a really exciting opportunity. I was very excited to get that call offering me that position, and just appreciate that Don and Winnebago both saw me as a great option for that, just with my current relationships with all of the contributors and knowledge of the RVing lifestyle and everything. They thought I was a good fit, and I've been really loving it and just excited to see it grow. And we have lots of fun things planned for future articles and different things that we want to do just to make the blog as great of a resource as we can for RVers.
So for anyone listening who's never heard of WinnebagoLife, how would you best describe it?
Yeah, so it's known as Winnebago's lifestyle blog. It is content that any RVer can benefit from for the most part. There are some little stories about, new Winnebagos and that kind of thing. But for the most part, it's content that's just about the RVing lifestyle in general. All of the articles are owners that are out and about traveling and learning and telling stories, from their perspective. So I think that makes it a really special mix. On occasion, I'll throw in an article, or we'll have someone from Winnebago want to share something about a new product or something like that, which our readers actually love too. That is part of it. They get excited about hearing about the new stuff coming out, but vast majority is just really helpful resources, fun stories, and that kind of thing from actual RVers out there living the lifestyle. So a really fun mix, I think.
So how long has WinnebagoLife been around, Brooke? And do you know of what the challenges were of getting this all together, getting it off the ground, and becoming successful?
Yeah, so it started in 2014. I actually went back and looked at what the very first article was that Don had written, and it was actually written on my birthday in the beginning of February in 2014, so I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, Don, like I said, worked with the marketing team to get that going, and I'm sure he would know all sorts of issues, just probably logistics of getting a website looking nice and all of that. I'm sure were initial things, and then just making sure that there's enough content and consistent content, getting different contributors. The Pagets contributed initially, and the Holcombs, they both still have some stories to tell here and there too. But yeah, they, just getting different people to have those different perspectives and really focus on that lifestyle aspect and get some different perspectives in there, I think was probably the first initial challenges, which is always going to be a challenge, just to make sure we're sharing as many different kinds of perspectives of the RVing lifestyle as possible, just to have those different questions answered in as many different ways as we can for people that are either looking into it or, trying to work things out on the road and want inspiration for different destinations or anything like that. We like to have as much of a mix as possible. But yeah, and then just getting the content out there for everyone to see. You've got great content up, but are people actually looking at it? So that's a constant challenge with any blog, is to make sure that people are actually reading it. So obviously social media in recent years has become really big with that. So we've got a great team now that's making sure it's up on all the different platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest. So that really helps boost the engagement on the blog post, which is exciting for me to see on the back end when I go through and see the comments and everything.
So are the contributors exclusively Winnebago owners, or are there other types of RV owners that contribute to the blog?
All of our owners are Winnebago owners, but like I said, they kind of, it's not just information that's only valuable to Winnebago owners. So, but yeah, they are Winnebago owners on the blog.
Bringing that up, I'm a little biased because I do write for Winnebago Life, but I've always felt that Winnebago does a great job of putting, the Winnebago brand aside, put them a little bit on the sidelines and showcasing the lifestyle and making that the front of it. Is that done by design, or is that just something that kind of grew organically?
I'm not sure what the initial goal was. I wasn't part of those first conversations, but I can say that now it's definitely done by design. We don't want this to just be a giant ad for Winnebago. We generally want it to be a resource for RVers, not just Winnebago owners, like I said, but anyone that's living in an RV or interested in the RVing lifestyle. So of course, we'll share that information that I mentioned about Winnebago specific topics, but we just always try to make sure that it's still valuable to our readers. And we actually do have people that tell us time and again how much they really love getting those deeper reviews of the Winnebago products when they're looking for those products as a possible option for their RV. So those are popular, but obviously destination articles and tips for just living life in an RV, all of that just as popular. And we want to make sure that we're offering all of that on the site.
To give everyone an idea of how large the site actually is, can you tell us how many contributors there are? How large of a team do you work with on the back end to make edits and doing all the publishing? And how many blogs are published a month or a week or whatever stats you have?
We have about 10 contributors who write for us on a monthly basis, and then a handful of others who contribute every other month or so. And a lot of our people are full-timers, so I try, as the editor, to, after being a full-timer myself, I try to be really respectful of the changing schedules, and we're pretty flexible. So some people will need to fall off for a few months here and there, but for the most part, we've got about 10 to 15 contributors that are writing regularly for us. And then our editorial team is basically just myself and my boss, Denise, who's Winnebago's marketing manager. So I am the one that works with the contributors to get all of the content, and I get it all up, and then she'll go through and make the final approvals just to make sure, nothing slipped by me that needs to be changed, and, all of that kind of thing. So it's nice to have that extra set of eyes on it. So that's her role. And of course, we chat regularly to just talk about upcoming content, make sure that we're hitting all of those different topics that we want to for that time of year. But yeah, we've got kind of a smaller team, but we work really well together. Denise is awesome. So we post every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. That's our schedule every week. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of articles for a few amount of people.
Yeah, I didn't even know that it was that many. That's a lot.
Yeah. So I'll write some articles every once in a while if we have a certain thing that I need to focus on, like an interview, or sometimes I'll put together compilation articles or talk about an event coming up or that kind of thing. So they're not all 100% from our contributors, but definitely like 80 to 90% are from the contributors most months.
So the content is very fresh then. I mean, every week you're getting so many new ideas and new stories. That's great.
Yeah. So always talking to new people, talking to our current contributors, trying to get those different stories together and brainstorming constantly. So yeah, it's fun. Always active.
Sounds it. So when I think of RVing and social media, Winnebago is actually the only manufacturing brand that I can think of, like right off the top of my head, just real quick comes to mind as Winnebago. And Winnebago Life appears to be driving that even further. And I feel the social media aspect of Winnebago makes us, the customers, feel more like a community than a customer. And in your own words, why do you think that hasn't caught on with other manufacturers? Why aren't we seeing other manufacturers jumping into the social media, getting involved with the customer relationships and building the same type of community?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the social media pro, so I'm not sure, where the disconnect is. I'm definitely, it's great to hear that you feel that way. And I feel like we are trying to build a community, especially with what we're doing in Go Life. And then that's social media is feeding off of what we're doing there, and, what they're trying to do with just engaging in those relationships through social media. I think, other manufacturers might just be missing the mark with how they interact with the consumer. I think Winnebago stands out because they're just really doing a great job at keeping the consumer in mind and genuinely wanting to engage. I think sometimes the product that they're, as the company are trying to promote kind of gets in the way of having that relationship with the consumer. And I think Winnebago does a great job of not letting that get in the way, in my opinion. And our social media team just lives for that engagement with the followers, and they're just so psyched to give any positive feedback, and are always very quick to try to resolve anything negative that might come through, to try to help people out if they are experiencing something that's not as exciting. But they're super hard workers, and I attribute a lot of that success to how hard they work to just make sure that they're constantly trying to reach that goal of making it feel like a community and really engaging with the people that are following along with Winnebago.
Yeah, one of the things I'm impressed with when I go to like the larger RV shows or even to things like the RV Entrepreneur Summit, it seems like Winnebago always has a presence. They always have a presence where they're asking or, have something big talking to the customers. Like at the Florida Super Show last year, Heath and Alyssa Paget were there doing interviews with people that were coming through the Winnebago area. At the RVE Summit last year, they had a Winnebago and they were asking people to come in and provide feedback. That's one positive thing that Winnebago is doing that I don't see the other manufacturers doing quite to that level. So that's really impressive, I think.
Yeah, and they find so much value in that feedback. So I know that they'll continue to do that.
So the main goal of WinnebagoLife is probably to bring awareness to the Winnebago brand, but I think from listening to you and from what I know about it, a close second is to help others realize that there are all kinds of RVers out there living full-time, vacationing, using their RV in a lot of different ways. What stories or articles do you enjoy the most that the site puts out?
So I definitely say that, one of the top goals is, as my surfer nephew would say, to spread the stoke about RVing. So I think Go Life does a great job with that. Some of my favorite articles, I'm a sucker for like the really heartfelt ones where people are just being really transparent about, their struggles or triumphs with RVing. I think anyone, especially full-timers that have just gotten right into it and, had all of these things come up, can relate to those a lot. And I think it's just stuff that you can laugh at, maybe tear up a little bit and realize, oh yeah, we went through that too. One of my favorites, The Guns, Catherine and Humberto wrote an article about overcoming van life stupors. I think it was back in maybe April, but it was just so honest. And it was the great thing about it that I really appreciate, which we try to encourage with our articles, is that there were like great takeaways at the end too. It wasn't just, hey, we had all of these struggles and, we got through it, but it was okay. But they gave specific things that they did to get through those struggles and, how they kind of got out of their funk with, when van life wasn't going quite the way they had expected. So I really appreciated that one about that. And we have so many good ones that we just have awesome writers that put together some really great content. So yeah, that's one that sticks out. Just any of those really, really genuine ones are always fun to read and put out there for everyone else to enjoy too.
Yeah, I think it's important for everyone to know it's not always rainbows and unicorns, but it always works out in the end if you have a positive attitude, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And I think those are really encouraging. The comments that come in on those, I think people just feel a lot more validated that, oh, it's okay that that's happening. We haven't had a perfect thing at it either. And I think that's great to be just putting the whole spectrum out there for what their RVing lifestyle looks like.
So what would you say would be the best compliment that you receive from somebody that reads the articles? I know that there's comments that people can leave at the end of the article and they can give you a little bit of feedback. What are some of the best things that you've heard from someone after they've read an article?
Yeah, I think just the ones that kind of like I was mentioning where they've received some kind of encouragement or just that they enjoyed it. You don't have to get some wisdom out of every single article, but even if it just made somebody laugh or brighten their day a little bit, we try to make sure that each article has some kind of inspiration or knowledge or just something really enjoyable in it for the readers to get out of that. And getting those positive comments are great. There's a lot of times I'll I'll read that someone said, oh, I was on the fence, but this really helped me decide that I can do this. And, how cool is that to be able to give that to someone else? And I love being able to facilitate that with our writers and get their great content out there for such a wide audience to read.
Building on that, what's the greatest benefit that you have personally experienced by working on and with Winnebago and its contributors?
I love working with the contributors and the Winnebago team, but there's just a lot of pride and joy that comes out of getting to help along, I started as a contributor, so it's just so fun to be able to get other people's writing up there on a blog that's read by so many people, and just be able to be involved in that excitement, when I can, help somebody grow their writing in that way, and get to have more people getting to enjoy their stories. It's really fun, and it always kind of gets to me every once in a while, like how exciting that is to be able to do that. I don't think I realized that the role would I guess affect me in kind of that emotional way, but it definitely, every once in a while, I'll really, think about it and think of how cool that is that I'm able to pass that on to someone else and just be encouraging, as a writer or a freelancer. It's kind of scary when you're first getting out there and, you're worried about, oh, am I saying the wrong thing or am I doing the right thing? And Don Cohen was a great supporter of me when I first started writing, even before I became assistant editor. He was always really encouraging. And even as an assistant editor, whenever I dealt with anything involving communication with contributors, I always have wanted to be really encouraging like that, because it is a hard thing to do, to put yourself out there, especially if it's your first article or first couple of articles. We have some great writers, but everybody needs a little encouragement now and then. So I love being able to do that. That's probably my favorite thing about working in this role with Winnebago, is to get to work with so many great contributors.
I know even for me now, I've been writing for almost a year for WinnebagoLife, and every time I submit an article, I'm always like, this is going to be the one that Brooke sends back and says, this is garbage, rewrite the whole thing. And luckily you've never done that. You've always been very encouraging and say, hey, I just made a few tweaks here and there. Other than that, I really like the flow of everything. You're very good about positive reinforcement, and building on what is working and maybe just shying away from what's not. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, no. And I mean, you've always turned in great stuff, and I know it's trial and error trying to figure out what works best as a new writer, but it's good to have good writers too. I mean, everybody on our team is actually really easy to work with, and I rarely have to have anything that's, like you said, usually it's just hey, we need a little bit more here, or this doesn't quite work, can we put something else in? And it's great that I also have people like you that are really responsive to that and are happy to make those changes. So it's a fun group of people to work with, definitely.
I would like to bring up also that I'm surprised and I'm not one of these people that are able to take wonderful photographs to go along with the articles. Like, I always feel like my photos are definitely my weakest point. I look at somebody else's articles and they have the most amazing photographs to go along with it. And they're like, picture perfect. I'm surprised at the talent that we have sometimes with the blog. It's great.
Yeah, we have some awesome photographers on there, and then we'll do videos on occasion too. So definitely tons of talent. Only more ideas and new things coming around the corner. So it's great that that, especially even the internal team, everybody's very open and excited about any new fresh ideas coming down through the contributors or through our chats internally. It's awesome that we have so much great content to work with and great contributors to provide that, and everybody's constantly growing. I know, with your photography, even just over the last year, I know you just got your new camera and stuff. It's fun to see how that's improved throughout the last year, and you've gotten a lot more specific as to what you will work in the article that you're sending over and stuff. So it's really fun to see that kind of thing.
I'm trying. I'm really trying.
And you mentioned the photographers, Kenny. I think Brooke said earlier that the Holcombs contributed, and I follow that guy's Instagram just because his photographs are amazing. Yeah, incredible.
Yeah, he's in Iceland right now, so I think he's making everybody a little jealous.
Well, that definitely happens with me. I watch all the contributors on Instagram as well, and I'm always like, man, everybody's always in such a better area than I'm in. It does make you a little jealous, but it's also exciting to see what else is out there. And I think it, kind of excites us to be like, all right, we got to start moving a little bit further west here, and we want to go see this. It gives you great ideas of where to travel to next. And because they're there and they take the photos and then they write about it, they're giving you a little bit of a guide of what to check out and what to do and what to see.
Yeah, whenever we do the destination articles on GoLife, I always try to make sure that they suggest at least 1 or 2 campgrounds in the area, just so other RVers will know, okay, this is a good place to stay. I don't have to worry about this being a dud when I go into the area. So I think that having that information is so helpful, and it really helps you to kind of take that leap into an area that you might have not otherwise been ready to go check out yet.
So how do you keep the blog fresh? I mean, with 2 to 3 articles a week, do you guys have a far out content calendar? I mean, how do you manage to keep the variety and diversity of content going?
Yeah, so there's definitely, seasonal topics and that kind of thing that we look at a little further out, and different events and things like that. Always brainstorming, anything. Sometimes I'll just hear something on the radio and be like, oh, we can use that for GoLife, and I'll make a note and, try to figure it out later on. But definitely just having such a great contributor base is really what it comes down to. I'm always trying to keep up with what our contributors are doing and chatting with them, because they're out on the road, living these stories and having things come up that they end up needing to research on their own or whatever, and then they can share that knowledge with others, so that way hopefully down the road they don't have that same problem, or those kind of things. So
contributors have flexibility, I guess, a little bit in what they contribute when.
Oh yeah, definitely. So I'm always chatting with contributors a couple times a month or so and seeing what they're up to and what areas they might be visiting next, and what kind of things that they've been struggling with or thinking about. And just that whole aspect of actually being out there and living it is really important. We don't have a team of people in an office trying to write about RVing. We have people that are out there actually RVing. So they're always coming up with some great fresh ideas. And, I'll often come up with an idea for someone, just like, hey, I know you're going to be doing this. Do you think, you could write about this idea? Like we had one of our contributors was recently on I think it's Going RV, the show where they have to pick their RV or whatever. So they're going to put together something on that, that kind of thing. So that they might not have initially thought that was something that would work for GoLife, but I think it'll be a fun kind of behind the scenes thing that our readers would enjoy. So just little things like that, keeping in touch is the biggest thing for me to getting that good content, is just having a pulse on what's going on with them and what's going on in the RVing industry, and working together to get a good mix of content.
Yeah, and I know like Sean is not a Winnebago owner, not yet anyway. I'm working on him. I'm working on him all the time.
I do like the Navion and the View.
Okay.
They're both great.
Yeah, they're great.
But I am always trying to work on them. But it sounds like even Sean, who's not a Winnebago owner, like this is not a blog area just for the Winnebago owners. It really is for everybody that owns an RV, with so many different topics being talked about. I think we're even talking about maybe gadgets and products that go along with the RV life too. It doesn't always have to be about Winnebago.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we have the Go Gear segment that we've been doing and trying to do a little more of, because I know RVers are always into what's the newest, coolest little gadget I can add to make my life a little bit easier. So yeah, I mean, I would say probably 80% of the content is relevant to anyone interested in RVing, if not more. It's very rarely just something only a Winnebago owner would be interested in. Even the ones about people, why they chose this specific RV, even if that's not the RV that someone's interested in, just the thought process behind how they chose the RV can be valuable. So I feel like even those articles, or maybe it's just a really fun story to read about how they finally found the right RV, So I think every article has something that would be of interest to someone that's interested in RVing.
So how do listeners get to the Winnebago Life site? And is there a newsletter that people can sign up for so they know like when the latest articles are out?
Yeah, so the Winnebago Life site is just WinnebagoLife.com. If they go there, then they can see all of the articles going all the way back to 2014. There's different topics. Towards the top, we have life, travel, gear, showrooms, more of the Winnebago specific products. And then they can subscribe. We send out a newsletter every other week. So that's just, with some of the most recent articles in there, and that's just WinnebagoLife.com/sign-up. They can go there and sign up, or at the very bottom of the page, there's a sign up for Go Life newsletter button that they can click, and that'll allow them to put in their email.
Before we let you go, is there anything that we haven't asked you that you would like to talk about? Any highlights upcoming that people should be aware of?
When I first started working with Winnebago, I thought, oh, it's this big company. And, I was really nervous about, going to my first event and meeting everyone. But I just think that it really has this family feel. Kenny, you can probably...
Yeah, absolutely. Sabrina and I were just saying this yesterday.
Yeah, it was really interesting to me. Just my boss, Denise, is great. She's so easy to get along with, and it doesn't feel like this stuffy conversation about, what's going on. We're both excited and happy to be doing what we're doing. And it's just really nice. And I think it's so cool how Winnebago values the perspective of actual RVers. I came on as an actual RVer. Our social media team has actual RVing experience, so it's just these people that know what it's like to be out there on the road, and that have that insight. And the internal team is psyched that they have us on board, to help out with that stuff. They love that they have actual RVers helping, and that all of our contributors are actually out there on the road. So I just think that that's something that's always really impressed me with Winnebago, is that they really do get excited about that and care about that, and that that internal team's just so easy to get along with was really surprising to me, I guess, because I had always, all my corporate interactions were much more stuffy than what I've experienced with Winnebago. So that's been fun to get to know those people a little bit more. And also, just if people aren't following along on social media, I think that Winnebago is doing some really fun stuff on social media. Obviously, follow along with Go Life too, but social media is another great way to see what we're doing with Go Life and any upcoming events. We do some fun Facebook Live and Instagram takeovers and that kind of thing, and all sorts of new ideas coming up all the time, so you never really know what to expect in the future. But I think it's fun to follow along with and get some insights into what might be coming up around the corner for Winnebago, or just some really helpful tips for RVing in general. So I definitely tell people to check that out.
Yeah, I'd like to echo too what Brooke said about the family feel for Winnebago, because Sabrina and I literally just said this yesterday. Winnebago is a very large company, but yet when you're around these people, it doesn't feel like a corporate. It feels very much friendly, and not just with the social media team, but Sabrina and I have talked to people in production. We've talked to people in the design department, and they all have that same, like Brooke said, they're very excited. They're very excited about what they're doing, and they're very excited to share what they're doing. They also are excited to hear the feedback and what owners do feel about the product, and how can we make it better, and what changes can we make? What do we need? What can we get rid of? And they really want to keep on making changes to make everybody, or as many people, as happy as possible.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I'm so impressed every time I go to an RV show and I see how engaged Winnebago is with the customers, even non-customers, just to get their feedback. I'm just so impressed with that at every RV show that I go to.
They really want everybody to enjoy that RV lifestyle, not just the product, but the lifestyle itself too. They want everybody out there having a good time and enjoying themselves. That's what I get anyway.
An awesome way to travel. So it's great that they're out there promoting it and trying to help it be more enjoyable for everyone, with their trying to improve products all the time and stuff. So I'm sure that when the team listens to this, they'll be excited that you all feel the same way and get that vibe too. So
Well, thanks, Brooke, for coming on. We wish you continued success with Winnebago Life, and hopefully you'll get some more subscribers and people reading the content.
Great. Yeah. Thanks, Sean and Kenny. It was great to be on and talk to you both.
We want to thank Brooke for coming on and sharing all that is involved and what it takes to put together a blog that is continuously coming up with fresh ideas on a weekly basis. I think one of the best takeaways from our conversation is that even if you are not a Winnebago owner, there is plenty of RV lifestyle and stories to help keep you entertained and excited about RVing.
This episode has been brought to you by Chicory's Travels and Moving Forward Adventures. We'll be back with another episode in 2 weeks.